When you parse a verb, you give a complete grammatical description of that verb. You identify all the information that is communicated by the form of the verb. In this class, you should always parse your verbs in the following order. Give the verbal stem, the conjugation, then person, gender, number. Then give the three-letter root from which the verb comes, and then the gloss, the rough and ready translation. To go through these in order, the stem, as we indicated in the previous section, is the verbal pattern. It is the binyan, which is being applied to the root. Now at this stage of your study of Hebrew, this is a freebie, because you only know one stem, the kal. The conjugation is then the verbal form. Each of our stems can be put into several conjugations. Now again, at this point, you only know a single conjugation, the perfect. So at this point, when you parse verbs, the first two items will always be the same, kal, perfect. Person then indicates the subject of the verb, and has been implicit in our discussion of the paradigm. There are three possible values for the category of person. It could be a first-person verb, I or we, a second-person verb, you, singular or plural, or a third-person verb, he, she, or they. The gender of a verb, then, indicates the grammatical gender of the verb's subject. There are three possible genders for a Hebrew verb: masculine, feminine, or common. Do note that a grammatical gender does not always align with a biological gender. Gender in the term that we are using it here is a grammatical category, and even inanimate objects will have a gender. Number, then, indicates the counting of the subject. And in the Hebrew verb, there are two possible genders. It could be singular, not gender, numbers. It could be singular or plural. The root is the three-letter base of the word that we discussed in the previous section, section 3.1. And then finally, a gloss of the verb is a rough and ready translation of the verb given the parsing. For example, katalta would be parsed as follows: kal, perfect, second person, masculine, singular, from the root, koftet lamed, and the gloss would be you, masculine, singular, killed. Now this last element, the gloss, is not technically part of parsing a verb, but it's a good discipline to go ahead and include as you work to make sure you are understanding the verb in question. If you do the parsing correctly, that will drive your gloss. Once you know it is a kal perfect second masculine singular from koftet lamed, the correct gloss must be you masculine singular killed. And our goal again in parsing is to be certain we are correctly interpreting the Hebrew word in question. In this case, in fact, as it's often said, repetition is the mother of learning. There is huge value in keeping your parsing order consistent. By doing so, you will guard yourself against careless mistakes, and you will force yourself to carefully look at the word in front of you, not to quickly jump to what you think the word means. Your study of Hebrew will benefit tremendously if you are rigorous with yourself to always parse verbs in this order. To give examples, let's work on several other verbs that can follow the same pattern. Shamaru. This verb would be a kal perfect third common plural from shin, mem, resh. And it would gloss roughly as they guarded or they kept. As I look at the form, I am systematically working through what I know from the paradigm to determine what the word shows and then translate based on what I have determined. For another example, if I find the Hebrew verb sarafti, I would have a Cal perfect first common singular from the root saraf. I then know that it must be, because it's a first common singular, I, and then I know from my lexicon that saraf is burn. So a rough translation or gloss, I burned. If I had na tata, I would have a Cal perfect, in this case, second masculine singular. Now I can see two of the root letters here, nun and tav, but then I see the suffix. Where is the third root letter? It is the assimilation of our friend nun, and this would be then glossed as I, it's not I, I'm sorry, you gave. And because I have parsed as a masculine singular, the ambiguity of the English word you is removed. This is you, masculine singular, gave.